Welcome to this presentation on use of the Assessment Analysis Protocol for the analysis of results from district CBAs and campus common assessments. Let's start with a brief review of what protocols are and why we would want to use them in the analysis of data. Protocols are a scripted series of questions designed to frame a dialogue around the critical attributes of the topic of discussion. When used regularly by teams, protocols serve to set guidelines for discussion which, over time, helps build skills and the culture necessary for collaborative work. Other advantages of using protocols is that it allows groups to more easily broach important questions that may be uncomfortable to some team members and make efficient use of time, which is one of the most critical of all resources in education. It's important to note that the primary purpose of protocols is to structure a conversation for the purpose of improvement. While the protocol document does include spaces to capture key points of the discussion and plans for next steps, the process should not be seen as a task to perform or a form to fill out. There are 8 components of the protocol that are designed to be discussed in order. By design, the process begins at the campus and course level, and then drills down to the individual student, and finally to the item level. This process will help teachers to contextualize the data from several different perspectives and hopefully provide a 360-degree view of assessment results. In addition, the protocol will focus discussion primarily at the level of student expectations, as these constitute the standards to which teachers design their instruction and over which students must demonstrate mastery. In addition, response patterns will be inspected to spark discussion about possible student misconceptions and common errors. Overall, the protocol is designed to help teachers to make connections between the written, tested, and taught curriculum, which will lead to greater alignment between the 3 components of curriculum. Next, a couple of notes on use of the protocol. First, who should use it? Obviously, PLCs are a great place to do this work. Teachers who plan together in PLCs will want to collaborate on data analysis as part of continuous improvement practice. Individual teachers could also use the protocol to guide the analysis of their own data. In fact, it makes sense logistically for each teacher to have analyzed his or her data through the protocol prior to meeting with the PLC. This strategy will help provide additional time for mental processing to make more effective use of limited time within the PLC. As mentioned previously, the protocol is best suited for analysis of CBAs and common unit assessments, but many of the questions could be applied to other summative assessments, such as Release Star or AP mock exams. The protocol is generally not designed for analysis of short formative assessments. There are several aware reports that will be used as part of the protocol process. Each step describes which report is needed. Since teachers will be looking at alignment between instructional delivery and assessment, they will also need to have access to lesson plans and other curriculum documents. Finally, other student information such as class grades, attendance, or discipline data may be helpful for one component of the protocol. All aware reports needed can be found in the drop-down window at the top of the Analyze tab. For example, the SE Performance by Tested Subject and Teacher view will be used for Parts 1, 2, and 3 of the protocol. Part 4 will utilize the SE Performance by Subgroup report. The reports indicated here are required for Parts 5 through 8. Again, the protocol describes exactly which aware reports to use, all of which are available from the drop-down menu. It is strongly suggested that teachers run and save these reports prior to meeting with the PLC in order to make the most effective use of the time they have together. Next, we will walk through the various steps in the protocol. Step 1 asks teachers to determine which student expectations appear to be strengths for students. Note that the aware report to be used is indicated in the directions. The bottom of the screen shows an example of what this report may look like. You will note that performance is shown at the campus, course, and teacher level. The results are broken down by the percentage of students correctly answering questions over the SEs assessed by test items. At the far right, the report includes average percent correct and the percentage of students meeting the satisfactory standard, which is set at 70%, and the percentage meeting the advanced standard, which is set at 90% correct. In step 1, teachers are asked to identify up to 3 student expectations with the highest performance at the campus level and record them in the table. Then teachers discuss how these SEs were taught, what student tasks were assigned around these standards, and why they feel that students were able to demonstrate success on items tied to the standards. As this is an area of strength, teachers should consider how they might continue to improve instruction in these areas the next time these knowledge and skills are taught. In part 2 of the protocol, teachers then use the same report to identify up to 3 student expectations that may serve as opportunities for improvement for the campus as a whole. Once SEs of low performance are identified, teachers should then consider how the standards were addressed in instruction through the use of structures, strategies, and assigned student tasks. In addition, teachers consider what can be done to address these standards through reteaching or remediation efforts. And finally, what can be done in the future to ensure that students achieve mastery of these standards on the first teach as part of the Tier 1 instruction. Next, teacher teams will consider differences in performance between teachers. Wide differences in student performance by SE may suggest a lack of alignment in planning or delivery between classrooms. It should be noted that other factors, such as student grouping strategies, may play a role in such differences in performance. For example, in cases where all English language learners may have been assigned to one teacher in a sheltered instruction model. Teachers should then discuss why such variation may exist and determine an approach to improving consistency of instructional delivery across all classrooms. Using a different AWARE report, teachers will consider differences between student subgroups for Part 4 of the protocol. Using the overall performance of the campus as a comparison, student groups performing at unexpectedly lower or higher levels than the campus are identified. In our example, performance of Hispanic students and those served by special education performed at lower levels than the campus as a whole. Once groups are identified, then those differences in SE performance are determined. Through discussion, the PLC should then develop a strategy to immediately address these deficits in learning within the identified student groups through possible regrouping and reteaching. Through discussion, the PLC should then develop a strategy to immediately address these deficits in learning within the identified student groups through possible regrouping or reteaching. The subgroup performance report may also be used to identify other differences between groups. In this example, the performance of girls appears to lag behind that of boys. However, on some SEs, the girls appear to outperform their male counterparts. The performance of traditionally high-performing groups, such as GT, may also be considered. In this case, only 66% of GT students scored at advanced level on the assessment, which suggests that gaps in learning opportunities may exist for this group as well. The Student Scores Report in AWARE provides student-level data, which allows teachers to hone in on those students who are struggling most in their learning. This report can be sorted so that the lowest performing students may be easily identified. Oftentimes, our most underperforming students will have issues in several areas of their lives. Therefore, teachers should consider other data sources that may provide insights as to why students are struggling academically. In Part 5, teachers should identify the lowest performing students about whom they are concerned. Consider the possibility of multiple causes for this concern and determine interventions that might be used to address these issues. Other data may be considered to identify appropriate measures to intervene with these students, including class grades, attendance patterns, or discipline records. The remainder of the protocol focuses on student performance on individual test items. For Part 6, teachers should inspect the student individual responses report to identify up to 5 test items in which students scored the lowest. The report provides an item number, SE address, the percentage of students selecting each answer choice, and the correct answer choice, indicated by the plus sign. Inspecting the actual items from the test, teachers should then discuss what students must know and be able to do to answer each question correctly, and to consider what may have kept students from coming up with the correct answer. Looking at the distribution of answer choices may help teachers to identify some common misconceptions that students may have. Looking for powerful distractors can provide information about these misconceptions. In this item, 24% of students incorrectly selected answer choice A, rather than the correct answer D. Viewing the test item will help to stimulate discussion about why a high frequency of students may have chosen this particular incorrect answer choice. In some cases, there may be a high frequency of students selecting several of the incorrect answer choices, which may indicate a high level of guessing. In this example, approximately 20% of students chose answer choices C or D, and only 55% answered the question correctly. However, it should be considered that up to 20% of students tested may have actually guessed their way to the correct answer choice, which reduces the number of students who actually knew the answer. Finally, for the items in which students did not perform well, consider what opportunities were provided in the taught curriculum that would have allowed them to be successful on each item. Also, teams should decide how to improve the first teach the next time this unit will be taught and record the plan for the future. After each round of CBA testing, PLCs should use this protocol to analyze data to inform and align instruction. Due to differences between grade levels and subject areas, it's recognized that not every PLC team may benefit from working through all components of the protocol for all tests. However, there is a district expectation that campuses will develop a plan for use of the tool to guide data analysis discussions following administration of interim type assessments, such as the Common Unit Assessments and CBAs. It's also important that individual teachers and teacher teams use such assessment data to plan targeted interventions for students not demonstrating mastery of the standards on such assessments. Well, that concludes this presentation over use of the CBA analysis protocol. I hope that you found this review beneficial and see the usefulness of the protocol in the continuous improvement of an instructional delivery and in student learning. If you have more questions about the protocol, please contact the BISD Department of Planning, Research, and Assessment.